Mm-hmm. Next up, let me tell you something. When I met this man, honey, when I seen this man, I said, Lord Jesus, fix it, Jesus. Then I found out he was engaged. But he cut hair like nobody's business. He's an ally and an advocate in the community. Let's give it up for the Trailblazer Award for Shelby Benson. I met this young man by circumstance. He was trying to get somebody to run to assistant. And I told him, we don't just do that here, they gotta be a client. That turned into someone that I can talk to, someone that I see that is an up-and-coming mentor in the community, and he is one of the staff members that step up. Let's give it up for the Innovator Award for Kip Morgan.
All right, so this next award is also going to be our next panelist. So first of all, the Innovator Award, we actually have 3 individuals that's going to be getting that. The first one was Kit, but that is for us, that's our next generation, because they're going to be the innovators. They're the one that's going to take community to the next level.
That is exactly what we need. Our young leaders in training to know when you do it, they will listen.
Come on with it. So now this next young lady actually holds a special place in my heart. I have seen so much growth out of this young lady over the past year. I think a lot of people didn't quite have an understanding when she started doing the work because they didn't see the work for her. But I always seen the work for her. So Innovator Award goes to Tiffany Crawford. All right, and last but not least.
Certainly not least.
So probably a year and a half.
A year and a half, almost 2 years ago.
Almost 2 years ago, this young lady came up to me. I barely knew her. And she said, TT Flo, I want to do the work. I want to work in the community. I want to work around the people. I got something to say to my people. And at first I just kind of looked at her like, okay, baby, yeah, we'll go ahead and get you in the work. But she kept coming back. Every time she seen me, she kept coming back.
Consistency was the key.
Absolutely. And so I am proud to say that her first position in the community was actually as an intake specialist at Transsolutions Research and Resource Center. And now she is a prevention specialist over at BU Wellness Network. And I am so very proud of Tyla Sanders.
Now, are you ready to be entertained? Yeah. Are you ready to learn a few things? Yeah. Are you ready to pay attention? Yeah. Let's give it up for this esteemed panel.
All right. So I will start off by saying, y'all gonna have to work with me and Johnny today.
We moving on the fly.
Yeah, I literally started traveling last Sunday on my way to San Francisco, and I literally, about 30 minutes ago, just pulled up in the parking lot from Chicago. So this has been a very, very, very busy week for me. But me and Johnny, we're going to get through this, baby.
We got this.
So we're going to go ahead and start with the first question. And I'm just going to kind of throw this question out. Some of the questions I will direct at certain people on the panel. But this first question, I would actually like to hear a little bit from each of the panelists. And that question is, what does Trans Day of Visibility mean to you personally?
Hey everybody. More energy. Hey everybody.
What's going on, my baby?
What trans visibility means to me is, just being seen and being appreciated and being loved by the people around you that really love you. And it also means, being able to show up for the girl, in the back, in the corner that's not able to be seen. So, it's all about showing up for us and showing up for others and, just, putting the unity back in community.
Hi, everybody.
Hey.
So, Trans Day of Visibility to me means a celebration. We're celebrating the women and the non-binary people that they didn't get to celebrate this. They're not here with us. They didn't, unfortunately, lives were taken and things have happened, and we're not gonna go into a whole big detail, but we know how life is, and it's just sad that we all can't celebrate with everyone everyone that was, born in trans spirit. They didn't get a chance to, give me a second. They didn't get a chance to be appreciated.
Amen.
It's very unfortunate. I'm not trying to get deep here, but it's just very unfortunate, and I'm just here to celebrate for all the people that couldn't and be a voice for people that couldn't. They didn't get a chance to have it.
To me, Trans Day of Visibility means selfishly and unapologetically taking up space and sharing our naked truth, which, it can be messy, it can be hard, it can be chaotic, but I think today is about doing that for ourselves. Every other day I feel like, especially as community organizers, we give a lot to each other's, and I feel like today's about receiving. Today's about showing up, being upheld, being celebrated, and giving space to those who, like you said, haven't been able to make it, to be visible.
Hello. Trans Day of Visibility means to me, we're finally there. Because I came out in a time where we weren't there. We weren't there at all. And I made sure that we can bulldoze forward to get there. I went in, got a job. And unlike most of the girls, I went to my job as me. And was received as me, accepted as me, and worked with the public. So Trans Day of Visibility means to me, we are finally there, or we are at least getting there. Amen? Amen. All right.
Hello everybody. Trans Day of Visibility means to me that, as Stacia said, we're finally here and we're not going nowhere. So get used to it, get ready, and it just allows us to, be honored, not only seen, but be honored, respected, and loved. And lastly, it just allows people of trans experiences, get to know that you're not alone. There's others out here, who's living, the same exact life, and then it's just also helping people that, encouraging people to live your life. The people that may not, feel comfortable, but we're here in this day to show that you seen, you heard, and you love.
So I'm gonna go ahead, I can't be the trans moderator and not tell people what Trans Day of Visibility means to me. So Trans Day of Visibility for me is 365 days a year. When I show up in spaces as the only Black trans executive director in the state of Indiana, of the only Black trans focused agency in the state of Indiana. That's 365 days a year for me. So that's what Trans Day of Visibility means to me.
Right, so I want to ask this next question, and because this is what we're here for, to support and uplift them, we want to ask you guys personally, what can we as a community members do to support and uplift you guys as trans individuals in our community?
Well, to me personally, I feel like the best thing that you can do to help our community is just show up and protect our community. And not only by, like protecting our community by showing up, but just letting us know that we're loved, we care, we are cared for, and things of that sort. Because it's so easy for a lot of us to slip out of ourselves to be like, y'all, don't nobody care about me, because it's us putting that in our own heads. So the best thing that, my people can do for me is just show up for me and, just smile. That'd be it.
I do want to add to what Dolly said, just showing up, being there, and being a voice, a sister, a brother, whatever your pronouns are that you go by, just being there to be someone that is supportive. The biggest issue I feel like in our communities is everyone tries to walk their walk of life alone. And no one tries to understand what the next person is going through. No one wants to sympathize with the next person. Everybody's trying to get ahead or be better than that person. And that's just it's not gonna work. We're never gonna be able to uplift each other if we don't stand as one.
Yeah, I could not agree more. I'm gonna kind of piggyback off of that and say it's the little things of the smile we get at the beginning of the event, the hugs we give to each other. I think a lot of it is giving space to the mess as well, of the trans experience of discovering who we are. I think supporting that looks like, all right, you do you, and I will respect that. If you need opinion, if you need love, if you need advice, I'm here to give that, but I'm also going to give space to whatever that looks like for you.
Well, I totally agree with the rest of the panel. Most importantly is support and be there for one another, not just look for the support from the outside of the community. Support one another and be there for one another. Encourage one another, because I see so much shade being thrown. I mean, now that I'm older, I'm sitting back and I'm watching the situation. Stop being so shady to one another. It's unattractive. Stop doing it. And then with the older people, it's okay for the younger people to advise you, but young people, listen to what the older people are saying to you, because they paved the way for you to get to where you are right now. Because there was a time when you couldn't walk down the street comfortably. So listen to them as well. But respect your young people as well, because there's a lot of disrespect in the community. So that's the way to support one another. It has to start in the community first, right?
It's good. As all the others said, support goes a long way. I often ask people, you don't even have to understand me, accept me, but just respect me, support me. So the support that I ask for is, educating yourself. That's number one. And, once you educate yourself, you'll learn and you'll understand and you'll be knowledgeable enough to, if nothing else, respect me and support me. Even just changing your verbiage, learning the right pronouns and things like that is enough for me.
And y'all can actually pass that microphone back down to the other end of the table for me. So with this next question, what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of direct it, because what I want us to see is kind of how things have changed a little bit, okay? So first of all, I'm going to direct this question down to the end of the table to Stacia and Shelby. And the question is, when you first transitioned, how did you navigate challenges related to your gender identity in your daily life?
Oh, interesting. Well, I would say it had to start with my family first. I didn't know how they were going to react, and personally, I didn't care. I was going to do what I was going to do. I've always been that child. So I had to make sure that I had support within my family first before I could even enter anyone's community, because the way I was raised, family is the most important thing that you have, and if you don't have that, you don't have anything. So I had to make sure that I was good with them first, good with my parents, my grandparents, my siblings. I have a really big family. And I didn't know how anyone was going to act. However, there was a situation at a barbecue where it got a little out of hand and my grandmother shut it down. And this is what she said, and I'm going to conclude with this. Anybody who didn't know didn't want to know. You know what I'm saying? Because it had been obvious the entire time. So I got right with them, and then I had to get right with myself. That's when I went out and I got a job. I wasn't going to a job as a guy, and I knew that I was a woman. You know what I'm saying? So I went to work as a woman. And a lot of the girls weren't doing that at the time. I would see them at work and wonder, what are they doing? I mean, you live in two lives. I couldn't live two lives because I needed to be honest with myself. So being honest with yourself is what helped me get through and help pave the way for everyone else, because it was a trying time, but the way you carry yourself is very important as well. So if you carry yourself as such, then people will receive you as such. That goes for your family, people outside of your family, people within your community. It's all about what you do, because you never know who's watching you. Somebody's looking, you know? So I think that's where it went for me. It had to start with my family first, and once I was good with them, then I could be good with myself and everything surrounding me.
That's right.
And with me, it was kind of like the total opposite. So I was in the LGBT community my entire life, but as Stacia said, I was pretty much living a double life. I was living a life as a lesbian because I was afraid. First of all, I didn't even have the education to know that, you know, trans men was a thing. But once I didn't have the courage to live my life as I truly wanted to. So I had to realize that this is my life and you only get one life to live. So I had to get right within myself and know that this is my journey. You can lie to the world, but you can't lie to yourself. You can, you know, the worst war to fight is a war within yourself, you know? So I had to get right within myself. Once I accepted myself and realized my life is my life to live, it was then family. And I was ready for whatever that looked like, you know, even though I had the support, probably not the best support as, you know, being lesbian, but I'm like, look, either you're gonna be with it or you're not, you know what I mean? But most importantly was self, you know. Once I got right with self, family followed, and after that, I really can care less about anybody else. I'm here, and it is what it is.
So I see that Stacia and Shelby want to give y'all the politically correct answers to that question. So let me shed a little light. You know, not even so much for me, but even the generation before me, you know, they ran in packs because they didn't know if they were going to be attacked by just walking out their door. They snuck clothes in their book bags so they can go to their homegirl house and get up and geesh, because they couldn't do it at home, because it wasn't accepted at home. So see, what I really wanted it to speak on is that how we didn't have the freedoms that the generation now has. You know, we didn't have the privilege that the generation now has. For the first 15 years of my transition, my ID had my initials on it because that's how hard it was to get my name changed. And it had my old gender marker on it until 2019, because that's how hard it was to get your gender marker changed. So that's how we navigated. Now, I'm going to also throw that same question out to our younger generation.
So basically, I'm not going to say my transition was hard. My transition was actually pretty easy. Like, my family, I've always been feminine presenting. So my family kind of accepted me from the get-go. Like, it wasn't like my mom, basically, I found out my mom's gay and didn't even know it. I caught my mom kissing a woman. So when I saw that, it was like, oh my God. I felt like I was able to share my story with her, you know what I'm saying, and let my family know what it was. And moving forward, once I got that acceptance from my family, nobody could tell me anything. I just, you know, did me, put me on, got myself together, you know what I'm saying, and I just, you know, lived life to the fullest. I do want to shed light on a situation because I feel like I am very fortunate to be a trans woman that is very passable, that is somebody that can sit amongst a room, any type of atmosphere, and blend. Not everybody has that what's the word? Everybody don't have that privilege. And it's really unfortunate, so it's kind of rough for me to say, like, I can't say my upbringing was rough or it was bad. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I've been jumped before for being who I was, but I mean, we all then took bruises and stuff like that. It just happens. It comes with the lifestyle. But one thing I can say about me and my life, my journey so far is I'm here and no one's gonna take me out of here.
My experience, it was, how can I put that? I'm not gonna say bittersweet because it wasn't nothing bitter about it. I was really like happy that I knew who I was. Rather, if I told my mom that this who I was, or if I told my dad this who I was, if they was gonna be like, yes, no, I didn't care. I was really happy that I found myself. Because for a long time before I knew who Tyler was, I felt like that I was living a lie, and I really didn't like life. Like, I was like, what is life? I can't be real with myself. I look in the mirror, I don't like myself. I just can't get with it. But it wasn't until I realized who I was, and all them outside voices didn't matter. The only voice that mattered was the voice of Tyler's. And that's what was guiding me at the time. So that's what helped me really navigate my way through telling my parents, telling the world. And, you know, I come from the far east side of Indianapolis. You know, from the post area, post community. So, you know, like, after that and growing up and doing what I had to do, it was either going to be you going to respect me or you're going to leave me alone. So that's what it was with me. And yeah, that's what helped me navigate myself, was myself.
For myself, navigating all the challenges that came with discovering gender identity and just becoming who I am. I mean, I'm a Gen Zer, so I really relied heavily on social media. I had that privilege of having people before me who've gone through either medically transitioning or just even questioning, and I got to really dive into their world, how they got to experience it, and kind of decide for myself where I lie in that. And I was really, really incredibly lucky to be able to have YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, you know, all of the social medias that give you every sort of answer to any curiosity that you may have. So genuine curiosity and social media have been my kind of trailblazers in my gender discovery, my gender identity. And I've been really, really incredibly lucky with both of those.
And I just kind of want to touch on something because I personally know her. You know, she grew up around me, and I knew her before her transition. So, you know, when she was younger, just figuring out who she wanted to be, she stayed in a lot of trouble. You know what I mean? And now that she realizes who she is, now she can be happy and do things that she loves.
Thank you, Uncle.
And so with today's climate, you know, gender is such a big deal. You know, gender identity, people get so many things confused. We want to ask you guys, we want to ask the panel, what advice would you give to someone who is struggling with their gender identity?
Ask me the question one more time.
What advice would you give to someone who is struggling with their gender identity?
I'm not gonna give a bogus answer.
You're not supposed to.
You're right.
Thank you.
To be all the way, to keep it a bean, it's hard. It's hard to be able to give somebody criticism when the world that we live in is not acceptance. Like, I could tell you to go somewhere and get help or go somewhere and be in a support group, and then the group might not accept you, or people might not have the same type of interests that you share. You know what I'm saying? So it's really hard to give someone advice that's younger than you moving forward, because I know the struggles that this life is, especially being trans or non-binary. People don't necessarily understand it.
Right.
And it's hard to have faith and hold your head up high and walk through a life when people don't accept you for who you are.
One thing that I would say, and like I previously said, know yourself. Like, it's okay to take time off and cut the world off so you can, plant them seeds in your head and see what grows, and seeds will come out. It's okay to unplug from the world so you can recharge yourself and come back as that new you. The butterfly goes into a cocoon, right? It's called a cocoon. Yeah, the butterfly go into the cocoon and eventually got to spread out. Take that time and do you, and don't rush yourself, and take the time out to just know yourself and connect with your higher self.
My answer will be quick because it's the same as those two. Kind of just like date yourself, Take this time to really, ask yourself the questions you asked on a date of like, what do you like? How do you show up in the world? Just kind of taking yourself on that journey of like dates out, or even just like what your home life looks like now for who you're trying to be. These are very like important, necessary questions we need to ask ourselves, and it is kind of a hermit mode to get into that, to discover that. But at the same time, we do have a huge community here at Indy, so it's not something that you kind of hide yourself from or hide from your community or the world. It's something that you kind of just cherish within yourself, of like this beautiful, romanticized journey of self-discovery, of self-dating.
I can agree with the rest of the panel as well. And I will also add that one has to ask oneself the question, are you sure? Are you absolutely sure? Because it's easy to do it. It's hard to reverse it. So you have to ask yourself, are you sure? Because I've met a lot of girls over the years who weren't sure. And now later in life, they're trying to reverse the process, and they look rather... We'll leave it at that. However, one has to ask oneself, are you sure? That's the most important question to ask yourself. Are you sure? It seems like a fad, because for some people it probably is, And it seems like the life to live, but it's not the easiest life to live. So you have to ask yourself, are you sure? Period.
I would advise, younger people to, the generic answer would be, get in community, find the different resources and stuff like that. Because when I was transitioning, although I was older, I wasn't aware, and there's not a lot of trans masculine representation of people of color, especially not in Indianapolis at all. So I was lost. I had to use the whole social media platform and thing like that. But so I would say, get in community, become knowledgeable, different resources, because this is where I feel the most comfortable. Even though I'm comfortable within myself, I feel the most comfortable in community. So I would definitely advise, younger people to get in your community, but also get to know yourself and know that the journey is for you and you only. And it doesn't matter how anybody else sees you, it's what you see when you look in the mirror.
All right, so this next question that I'm going to ask is a little personal to me, because it's definitely something that I have experienced in my journey. But I also believe that it is something that is not spoken about a lot, especially among the trans community. And so what that question is that with the rise in domestic violence against trans individuals and their partners, how can we encourage people to seek help?
So, I have experience in domestic violence. And the best way that somebody has told me to go get help or to told me to, you know, leave my situation, because in honesty, rather it's a trans woman in a domestic relationship or a cisgender woman in a domestic relationship, it's all still the same feelings.
That's right.
And it's all still the same, you know, emotions involved. So it's not like, you know, I'm gonna speak for myself in my situation that I was in. It wasn't just that I could leave or I could, you feel me, stop loving that person, as everybody would tell me, you need to leave them, you need to stop loving them, you need to, they're no good for you. In my eyes, I'm seeing this person as my protector, my everything of the opposite. All because, you know, it's just they protect that one feeling. I mean, you know how narcissists do. They protect that one feeling, so you ain't gonna go nowhere, you know, and they know that's that one feeling that you so desirably need. But the best thing that got me away from them was my family just not telling me to leave, not telling me to go, not telling me to, you feel me, forget that person. It was just them showing me love. Because then when they showed me love and when they showed up for me and they showed me that they cared, it reminded me of, oh, this is what love is supposed to feel like. So love is not supposed to feel like that, so it just, you know, removed me away from the environment that I was in.
So my answer to this question is going to be very brief because I have not experienced something of that caliber. So I'm big on not speaking on something that I haven't physically endured or that I really don't understand. Because I don't want to, you know, take anything from anybody else. But if I could share anything that I would do personally is I would probably talk to my family. Like, you know, be with my family and try to figure out what I could do to reconcile that situation and not be afraid to seek help.
My answer will be brief as well because same experience-wise, I've only been a friend of somebody experiencing and kind of giving that support and love to them in that way. And what I did was I asked them what they wanted every time they would, you know, bring up situations of like, what does love look like? I just asked questions, basically. You know, I wasn't get out of there. I wasn't, you know, you have to do this. That put more pressure on them than I thought needed to be put on them. They're already in a very stressful situation. So what I would ask was, what do you want? What does love look like for you? Are you happy? And slowly, it was about 3 years of going through this together. They're out of it now. But it took 3 years of asking that, of showing them love, of giving them that, and they finally listened to themselves and listened to their answers and said, oh, this isn't matching up of what I want, of what love looks like, and they were able to see that for themselves. But I think just as friends, as supporters, all we can do is show them love and compassion.
I totally agree with what Tyler said. Love is not supposed to hurt. Mm-hmm. Love is not physically supposed to hurt you. So then you have to ask yourself, is that love? Or maybe you should look up the definition of what love really is, as it is in fact an action word, but I don't think that's the right action. So you're not supposed to physically experience domestic violence in love. So then one has to question oneself. Are you really in love, or are you just lustful right now, loving the idea of being in love? So then you have to question yourself, do you want to stay in this situation, or is this the life you want to live? So in that situation, you have to be transparent with that person. Make them feel like the life they're living so they can see it, because we're on the outside looking in. They don't necessarily see what we're seeing. So you just have to be totally transparent with them and let them see what's really happening instead of what they want it to be, you know?
So I haven't never experienced it personally, but I know a couple of trans women and trans men, you know, that have experienced it. And I think a lot of times they stay because it is hard dating trans. while being trans. So I think they stay because they're comfortable with this person. This person has accepted them, so they feel like, well, I'll deal with whatever, to be accepted. So I just will advise them, get out, leave. Under no circumstances, don't stay. Don't feel like you have to stay. You're obligated because it's hard dating while trans. I just advise them to get out, get the help that you need to get out. And also, nobody had touched on this, but I think a lot of just LGBT people in general don't report it to the police or don't get the law involved because they feel like they won't be treated fairly, but nah, report it, get out. Like, treat it just as any other, domestic violence situation, regardless if you feel like, you won't get the justice you need, it need to be some, consequences done.
So I'm actually going to add a little to that myself. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it back on community. Community needs to recognize it for what it is. So many times I have, seen couples get into scuffles and stuff, and community says, oh girl, she all right, honey. She can handle her own. She good. But why does she have to? That's still abuse. Even if she can handle her own. That's still abuse. Call a spade a spade. It is what it is. So I think that, and I'm gonna say, I think from a trans woman's perspective, a lot of times in those situations, that's when we need our same gender loving men brothers to support us, to stand up for us, to speak for us. I think a lot of times, again, I have seen situations where they say, oh, well, that don't have anything to do with me. But it does, because that's your sister. Because it's your sister any other day. That's your sister any other time. When y'all having fun and y'all kicking. That's your sister then. So why ain't it your sister when that man is knocking her up beside her head? That's my 2 cents.
All right, so on light of what today is for, which is Trans Day of Visibility, and I'm just glad to be able to have y'all out in the open and being able to be yourself, because I've met some of the most beautiful people and souls and hearts who are trans. So what do you think, what are some positive changes you have witnessed for trans visibility and acceptance in recent years? What are some ways what are some positive changes you have witnessed for trans visibility and acceptance in recent years?
One big change that I've noticed that I've loved so much is that we are able to now go out and teach individuals what transgender and what being transgender really is. Like, we are being able to step out into these spaces, like Miss Stacia said, that we were never able to step into, and are able to educate individuals on who we are and what we come to bring. So yeah, I think that's one of the best changes that has came out of the outcome for me.
I just want to add to that, basically, the most changes that I think for the most that I have witnessed is just being able to walk down the street and be you. You know what I'm saying? And nowadays, people are way more accepting than they were 20, 15, 10 years ago. I think it's very fortunate that we all are able to stand as one in our truths and be who we want to be. And people are coming to accepting what they're going through, because it don't necessarily be issues with trans individuals. It necessarily be people seeking out trans individuals. And then when things don't go as planned, now everything is the turbulence is off. Just leave it there.
My answer is kind of a cop-out because it's visibility, for Trans Day visibility, the positive things that come from that. But it's especially cool to see visibility in the youth and see things that I missed and kind of live through them in that way of like, oh, they get to experience that. They get to have their parents go along on this journey with them in their preteens. And that's insane to even think about, being able to word that to a parent and not be afraid that you're doing something wrong or that you're saying the secret out loud. These youth don't have to experience that as much now, and that's just a beautiful, positive thing that we get to see from them. Even just teaching that, introductions are names and pronouns just automatically. That's an incredible change that is so small but so powerful that these youth are just kind of pile driving through because of the impact that many years and years of hard work has been put into the ancestors and adults and just making the communities to even bring in the parents who are questioning, to give them answers, to give them resources, to give their youth a fighting chance. So that's what I'll say.
Well, I would have to say the biggest change, and I think the most important, is that we're actually seen as individuals now, and not by our sexual orientation or our sexuality. We're actually seen as individuals. You're not looking at the fact that she's trans or he's trans or whatever your situation is. You're seeing the individual, and that's the most important change, and that's the one that I was looking for, and we're finding today.
For me, I would say the resources. As Flo Michelle said, it took her many, many years to get her gender marker changed. Now I was able to do that within a year. Just even the gender affirming surgeries being covered and available to people like us, So the resources definitely has changed a lot, and I'm very proud, to be a part of that and being able to experience it automatically, because I don't know what I would have done waiting many, many years for my gender marker to change when I look like this. I'm very passable, so that probably would have been definitely trigger my dysphoria. So I'm very thankful for the resources.
I think an important thing that needs to be spoke about is representation. Young trans folks can now turn on the TV and see people that look like them. And let me say, it's appropriate. Because let's be real, for a long time, people thought that trans women was Shanae and Wanda. But now they can turn on the TV and they can see Tiffany, and they can see Stacia, and they can see Flo on the TV representing what trans folks are and who trans folks are. Okay, so for the next question is going to be kind of surrounding some of our legislation here in Indiana that has taken place. So with the passage of Senate Bill 480, denying gender-affirming care to trans individuals under the age of 18, how can we help the youth understand that they can still live in their truth?
I feel like we can help the youth understand that they can still live in their truth just by, again, just showing up and supporting them and letting them understand that the government don't make you you. The people don't make you you. You would make you you, and you showing up for yourself is what makes you you. As long as we continue to help them understand and help them build them up that self-identity is very important, then I think that, it'll be okay until we get done fighting this fight. That we gonna win, y'all.
So I kind of just wanted to add to that. The government don't tell us who we are. They tell us what to do. They don't tell us who we are. I feel like there is a lot of resources still out there that people can get that are free. Because the only thing that they're taking away is things that are being paid for. There's things out here that they can get for free. There's support groups, trans support groups. therapists, there's all types of things there's resources everywhere that people don't know about, that is something that we need to do better as individuals and trans individuals, is, spread more awareness for the youth, so they know that this is still out here, and there are still things that you can do that's free, that can help you, that can better your life. Mentors, people just latching on to good people that spread wealth, spread health, and all the above.
I couldn't agree more with that. I used to get a question a lot before this even passed of like, what do you think about kids medically transitioning? And my answer was, there's more than just medically transitioning. We can transition in so many ways, and it's such a beautiful experience that doesn't have to be pinned down by the medical process or the legal process. I think it's about showing the joy of transitioning socially, or of just showing up, like you said, and just being. I've had so many times I've showed up to events and kids have come up to me and said that I was their favorite part because they didn't know that we could be. They didn't know that this was even possible. They see it on TV, they see it on all the social medias, but then when they see it in person, that's the biggest difference in the world. You can see their hearts light up, you can see their eyes brighten, and it's all about showing up. I think it's about giving more options. I think it's about showing more options and kind of just supporting them through like the hope, what seems to be the hopelessness of it, and kind of, a gentle parenting them away from that, kind of helping them like, yeah, it does seem hopeless to medically transition, yet what would you like to be called? That's something that you don't have to get legally done. That's something that you don't have to do medically. You can just choose to be called something different. And that's all the difference in the world.
Right.
I would have to agree with everyone on the panel, because transitioning does not necessarily have to start in a medical form. When you're making that transition, you have to, again, like I said earlier, make sure you're sure of this. So that allows that time for them to settle into who they are, become who they are, comfortable with who they are. Because again, once you start going into doing things medically, things cannot be reversed. So you have to make sure of it. This allows that time. They may be ready to transition. Yeah, I was ready to transition. My parents' insurance wasn't going to pay for it until I was old enough. You know what I'm saying? And when I was old enough, it did. So this just allows the time for them to make sure. Are you really sure this is what you want to do? So I think that in this transitional time, this gives them the time to make sure that they're sure about it, before going into any medical procedures that are irreplaceable or irreversible, should I say, right?
Yeah. I agree with everybody. Like Tiffany said, just offering, instead of telling them what they can't do, offer them the things that they can do, the different resources, and just, you don't have to, medically transition to be seen or heard, so just go agree with what everybody else said.
So we are coming to the end of our panel, but I do have one more question that I would like to ask you guys, lovely, beautiful people. And excuse me if I'm stumbling up on words. I'm sitting next to this powerhouse of a lady. She does this for a living. So this is my first time, so yeah. Thank you. But what are some common misconceptions about being trans, and how can we work to dispel them?
I think one of the most common ones is that a cisgender woman will feel like, me being a trans woman, I am trying to mimic or mock or live their lifestyle. And a lot of times, that's not the case. That's not the case, because I feel like they just have this conception, oh, you trans and you're a male and you turn into a female, so you want to be like me. And that's not what it is, because I personally believe, with me being a trans woman, I am a trans woman for a reason. I'm not a cisgender woman. There's things that physically cisgender women can do that I can't do, and there's physically things that I can do that a cisgender woman can't do. We're not in the same lane at all. So I feel like it's very important that, you know, we go out and we spread that knowledge that, no, I'm a trans woman, I stay in a trans woman lane. That don't make me less than a woman. You can't take my womanhood or my femininity away from me. But one thing is I'm a trans woman. I'd rather be in my lane. I don't want to be in your lane. But we sisters, girl. But yeah.
Really quickly, I'm gonna kind of piggyback on that because, you know, I have a saying that I say all the time, and it is, you're the woman that you are, and I'm the woman that I am. We both women. We just different types of women.
So I want to talk about, well, how do I put it? I want to talk about just the main thing. People feel like trans people are people that are being deceived. They're deceiving people. That is the biggest thing that I think upsets me the most is someone telling me you tricked me. I didn't trick you. Like being out and being in public and being somebody that is passable is really hard because, you know, you get a lot of attention from people and they don't know exactly who you are, and it's hard to explain in that type of setting because you have a lot of ignorant people that's in the world that don't understand what it is. And I just told you at the gas station that I'm trans, and now you just cranked out. Now we're at the gas station fighting, or where it's getting out of hand. Like, that is the worst thing to me, is being told, oh, you tricked me, or you didn't tell me who you are, or whatever. And I was like, I didn't get a chance to tell you. Like, this whole world is so fast. Everything is so fast. Everything's quick. Everybody wants to move fast instead of taking the time to actually get to know someone, instead of assuming who you thought I was just by looking at me. That's the biggest issue we have. Everybody don't use their brains. Everyone just looks at everything with their eyes. That is the issue, and I just wish that we all as people could just get to know somebody, you know, accept us for who we are, and don't just try to jump the gun. Because the biggest thing that I feel like is we're all sexualized. Every trans person that I've ever met has been sexualized in their life. And I feel like people feel like, oh, well, you didn't accept yourself for wanting to be a male, so you transitioned to be a woman, and that's not the case. I didn't transition like Dolly said. I didn't transition to be like a cisgender woman. I transitioned to be me and living my truth and accept who I was.
Exact same. I think it's humanity. Our humanity is misconceived consistently, whether we are sexualized, whether we're the token, we're the epitome of transness and we're put on this pedestal, or whether we're weaponized for political, whether we're freaky. Like, the list goes on of how we are just kind of stripped away of our humanness, of our human experience of what we're going through with everyone else in this world, and the feelings that come with that, I feel like are a second note to our bravery, to our consistent, like, chaos that we bring to cis-normativity. That is seen as the epitome of what we are, and behind all of that, we're just humans. You know, we're all just trying to do our best. We're all just trying to make our way in this world. And I feel like a lot of that is overseen because of I don't know if it's because of the political movement and what that's become, or because people want to be such an ally that they can only see our bravery and our strength and this and that, but they forget that, like, sometimes we have to be brave. Sometimes we are forced, we are put in that position to be brave or just not be ourselves. And we cannot do that to ourselves, to where we don't choose us. And I think that, like I said, has been overseen, overlooked, and something we can do, I think, is having these conversations, calling that out, and saying, kind of, do better. You know, see us as humans, see our emotions, take that, you know. I'll say this shortly. A quick example I can think of is, you know, a lot of times I see, like, white trans women who become Karens, and they get dogged on, and all that's seen is their transness through that, and I'm like, no, let's dog on them because they're Karens. You know what I'm saying? Like, people are missing the point. So yeah, I say we just keep calling it out, keep having these ugly discussions of like, yeah, you don't see me, and for who I am, exactly. Thank you.
Once again, I agree with the entire panel there. Fabulous. One common misconception is they always think that we're prostitutes. Always. And that's the one thing I've never been, is a prostitute. I always had some type of career going on. In fact, my career started when I was 14. I was a ballet dancer, you know. And I would be walking home from work, coming from the bus stop, you know. A girl didn't have a car. I was still in college. I was broke. So I'm walking home from the bus stop, and I lived on 16th Street. And I mean, these guys would roll up on me, and I didn't know. I was young. I was, 19? I didn't know what to think, and they're rolling up on me, and I'm looking at them like they're crazy. You're automatically assuming because I'm trans that I'm a prostitute. I'm not a prostitute. I have a career. So, you know, and one way that we can help to control this is to educate the people on who we are. You know, they already have a misconception of who they think we are. So we can educate them on who we are. I'm just as smart as you. I'm just as educated as you. And my career goes just as far as yours do. Hello? Yeah.
With me being the last panelist, I mean, I can just always piggyback with what everybody else said. But one of the common misconceptions is hearing that, oh, trans people want special treatment, when that's not the case. We just want equality. So I just think that we just need to continue to, you know, let people know that we just want equality, inclusion, and that's it. There's no agenda that's trying to be forced or anything like that. We just want to be included and treated equally.
And I think to close that question out, for me, I think one of the common misconceptions is that we're confused. For the most part, we're not confused. We know exactly who we are. It's society that's confused.
That's it.
So, with that, I want to say thank you to all of our wonderful panelists. We appreciate you. We see you and we love you. Now get off my stage.